Hello and welcome. We are here today to talk about move, manage, and modernize your workloads with OpenShift Virtualization. Today's exciting webinar is sponsored by Red Hat in partnership with CDW and produced by Actual Tech Media. My name is Mackenzie Puddesy with Actual Tech Media, and I am excited to be your moderator for this conversation today because we'll be exploring the possibilities that await on your infrastructure modernization journey. We'll be getting an overview of Red Hat OpenShift and that virtualization and enjoy a comprehensive look at OpenShift virtualization fundamentals. You'll be able to see how you can combine the best of container orchestration with an ability to manage virtualized workloads, all under a single synchronized platform. Likely, that's why you're here. This is going to be such a cool conversation, and I can't wait to get started. So let's zip through the housekeeping and get things on our way. First, I want to draw your attention to the questions section of your webinar console. This is the best place to get involved, get interactive, post all your insightful questions, comments, feedback, and ideas. We definitely want to hear from you. So find that questions tab now, and let's start out by saying hi, hello, hola, aloha, or whatever greeting you like to use, and give us a little wave there to the community that's on live on today's webinar. As a quick side note, that window is also the best place to reach out to us and let us know if you're having any technical issues during the session. Knock on wood, of course, we shouldn't have too many of those. And don't forget that a browser refresh should get rid of any of the usual tech gremlins. But if not, just shoot a message in that questions tab and the ATM crew and I will be here to help you. Additionally, I encourage you to be inquisitive. We'll be wrapping up today's session with live Q&A, so make sure you send in all of your questions for our speakers. And the last thing I want to point out on your audience console is the handouts tab. Go check out some cool resources and follow-ups to our conversation today because it will be a packed presentation with a lot of info, and you'll want to tag this web link in there in order to review the information that Red Hat has prepared for today's webinar and potentially get a jump start on using some of this awesome technology. Okay, well, that is it for our housekeeping. I told you I would keep it short and I would keep it sweet. So we are ready to bring out our presenters here today. I'm excited to introduce you all to Matthew Miller. He's a chief architect, a North America partner ecosystem for Red Hat. And we have Adam Ulrich, business development lead at CDW. Let's get these two live on stage, shall we? Matthew, Adam, it looks like I've got you both on, so feel free to take things away.
Yeah, thank you, Mackenzie.
My pleasure.
Awesome. Thank you, everybody, for joining today. As Mackenzie stated, I am Adam Ulrich. I'm a business development lead here at CDW. Been at CDW specifically for our Red Hat practice. Been at CDW for 11 years now, and on our DevOps team, which our Red Hat team falls under, for over 6 years. So looking forward today and all the great content that we have to share with you all. Matt, quick intro, and then get into the slides.
Yeah, so my name is Matthew Miller, as stated. My role actually within Red Hat is to actually go through and help customers and partners link to our engineering teams to be able to go through and help to drive new capability. Excited to go through and give you an overview of what we're doing from a virtualization perspective. So let's kind of jump right into it. Today we're going to be going through and talking about the mechanics of a unified platform. They're both run as the mechanics of virtual machines and containers. We've been going through and been on the modernization journey since about 2011 when it comes to our first release of OpenShift. And then we actually rebranded when the platform adopted Kubernetes about the 2013 timeframe. We support traditional workloads, cloud native workloads, containers, and the capability to run virtual machines. So Adam, I turn it over to you.
Awesome. Yeah, before we get into all that, a little showcase and share a little knowledge of why Red Hat and why CDW and why this partnership is powerful and can help you achieve all your goals when it comes to anything Red Hat platforms. with Red Hat being an open hybrid, having an open hybrid approach, you could choose the technologies that align better to your business strategies and needs, from short-term, long-term vision to help you quickly evolve and adapt and be more agile within your data centers, your environment, whether it's on-prem or in the cloud. CDW, we are a premier partner at the highest level with Red Hat, which means we have that strategic relationship and deep expertise here when it comes to knowledge and expertise around delivery and services and everything else that comes with it with CW and Red Hat. And here we're showcasing just some of our accreditations that we have, our certifications, and everything that we do that CDW has invested in and Red Hat has invested in with CDW, with all the certifications around automation, cloud, Red Hat in general, DevOps in general, security, how that becomes a play, all of our security experts. And we do offer a full services portfolio to help you achieve those technology goals that you have around Ansible and OpenShift and OpenShift virtualization, which is what we're here to talk about today. You have myself, which is a Red Hat dedicated Red Hat business development lead for all state and local education and federal. So I support all the awesome account managers and field AEs that we have here at CDW, and I help them get aligned with the Red Hat folks as well to help drive those initiatives around your business goals. We have lab environments, we have demos, and everything we could do to help you guys understand the products better, get your hands on, and help you develop those roadmaps and get going on your journey. And mentioned, we're part of our overall DevOps group here within CDW. And what we do is, we take a process and product approach. This allows us to help us understand the business and a company, and then help you understand the other.
Whoa, it looks like we've gone through and lost Adam, but I can go through and kind of lost you for a second there. Huh?
Let's see. Adam, hope we got you back here.
Okay, that. You guys got me?
We got you. Yep. The tech gremlins were dragging on you for a minute, but I think we got you back in.
All right. Sorry about that.
No worries.
Cool. So yeah, as I mentioned, here at CDW within our DevOps team, which our Red Hat practice falls under, we take a people, process, and product approach. So we, like to take advantage of understanding, who you are as a company, and help you understand the different business units within your organization to help have conversations around process flow to where we get to product around topics like automation, infrastructure as code, configuration management, how DevSecOps, security management, plays a role in that with container security, secrets management, application security. Then we have our observability practice with event correlation. Think of infrastructure and application monitoring tools and stuff like that. Then we come to our application modernization piece with containers, Kubernetes, and orchestration, and how all this plays a role, in which we can lead right into today here with Matthew with the OpenShift virtualization piece, which you're all here to listen to and understand and get better knowledge around. So Matthew, I'll go ahead and turn it over to you.
No, thank you, Adam. So when you're going through and thinking about Red Hat, we have certain guiding principles to be able to go through and help our customers go through and meet the mechanics of their mission. First, one of the goals that we want to go through and assist with is to be able to rapidly speed the capability that they're going through and developing their primary workloads or running their mission critical workloads. This is relatively important because you'll go through and kind of determine that, being one of the world's largest open source providers and being the number one open source company out there, the thing that we go through and strive for is to be able to allow those who are developing on top of our platform to both benefit from the latest innovation within open source that's been processed via secure supply chain and delivered in a stable channel. We want to be able to go through and help you scale that open source, be able to run on the architectures that you want, and be able to run across the mechanics of bare metal, virtualized, private cloud, public cloud, and all the way to the edge. So for those who've gone through and who have not been introduced to our primary products, we break this into three main pillars. Our flagship operating system, which is our Red Hat Enterprise Linux, our automation practice that goes through and accelerates our capability to be able to deliver things like infrastructure as code. The main mechanic of that delivery comes through our work with Ansible, and our capability to go through and have and drive new modern workloads in a cloud native way that drives containers and virtual machines, which is OpenShift. And for those who don't really know what containers are, I'll go through and I'll break it down to something rather simple. Containers provide isolation for processes. They're a derivative of going through and working within the kernel space of the Linux operating system. They actually utilize kernel namespaces, control groups, and Red Hat goes through and layers on security enhanced Linux to make that particularly occur. For containers, there's no hypervisor specifically needed, and a container only has the binaries that you need to be able to run the application that you want. You can think of a container as being an abstraction of files and processes, and a hypervisor, which, when we talk to the mechanics of virtual machines, being an abstraction of devices. So to give you a little background on Red Hat and virtualization, Red Hat is an open source company known for enterprise Linux. What we get from that is that the operating system known as Linux is actually divided into two parts: the Linux kernel itself, which is developed by Linus Torvalds, and the software and libraries that were originally pulled together by the GNU project, and has expanded dramatically over that. And we've had something like over 10,000 potential RPMs that you can go through and load on top of the platform. But what does that really mean to you as the underlying user? So when we go through, you're focused on the system software, which you kind of see as the main part of an operating system, the application software, which is the things that you're going through and running on top of that operating system, the COTS that you may go through and procure and run, which need a stable place to not only go through and thrive, but to be able to life cycle in a way that gives them longer agility within that OS space. Red Hat provides in our enterprise Linux, close to 10 years worth of support for our operating system, and then the kernel itself, which is kind of an arbiter. So what happens within the Linux kernel? Well, think of it as kind of a listener of system calls. So if I have something like a Firefox browser, it's sending a system call to the kernel, which is performing an action or task. The same for system services, like the things processing time. So within the Linux operating system, there's this thing called cronny, which is actually going through and just ensuring that your time is set appropriately within the operating system using network time services. Those are being passed to the operating system and being processed and can be provided to the underlying parts of the hardware. So the kernel is also particularly modular. There's modules for USB, there's modules for networking, there's modules for storage. But what does this really have to do when we start talking about virtualization? Well, believe it or not, within the hardware itself, there is a mechanic of hardware-based virtualization. And this is the part that really is the foundation for Red Hat. And what it does is within the kernel, there's a mechanic called the kernel virtual machine that actually accelerates off this hardware-based virtualization and provides a way to be that lower level hypervisor within the operating system itself. And this just comes natively with the operating system. But you're limited by the fact that running virtual machines on Red Hat Enterprise Linux, you're locked into one node. And there is a mechanic of needing to be able to interact with the kernel. So we actually do that via an API. There's a service on the underside called, Library Virtualization Daemon. And it's driven off of a web-based console. So a user acts with a web console, it goes to an API, system calls happen within the kernel, and the kernel virtual machine is there. Red Hat's been going through. We acquired a company in about 2008 that's been the foundation of that delivery for a very long time, and it's been the backbone of all Red Hat virtualization technologies since then. It is also the backbone of many different cloud provider technologies today. So what does this really have to do with OpenShift? Well, when we're going through, when you're running a virtual machine on top of a single operating system, there isn't this concept of orchestration. In our previous releases of Red Hat virtualization, we followed the traditional methodology that the industry laid out and created the components of a virtual data center. And the orchestration around it kind of followed suit. At a point in time, Red Hat went through and made the underlying strategic decision to change the way that it actually interacts with virtual machines and bring it to Kubernetes. For those who don't know it, Kubernetes is a orchestration engine for containers. It's built off of a ecosystem that's built on standards for being able to be modular. So things like storage, there's a standard for that called the container storage interface. For networking, there's a container network interface standards. These standards go through and provide a way to create a rich ecosystem to be able to go through and run your applications within. And because of the way that virtual machines work within the Red Hat-based environment, virtual machines become processes. Process can be orchestrated just like your traditional based applications, and a framework can be put around it so that we can have Kubernetes manage virtual machines. And the advantage of this is that the standardization of the environments based on the Kubernetes standards grows our ecosystem dramatically. So for those components that fall within the storage allocations of the Kubernetes-based standard, we can go through and adopt them and run them within our OpenShift platform. Same for network-based services to be able to go through it and do that. So we go through, we adopt those standards, and we run virtual machines this way. We're not actually running virtual machines inside of containers. What we're doing is we're utilizing the Kubernetes to manage the machine instances, which then go through and are represented as processes, and all the work happens at the lower layer parts of the kernel. So why is this specifically important to be able to go through? This capability accelerates delivery of virtual machines, because the same capability to deliver containers fast via DevSecOps and pipelines you can do now with the virtual machines. Containers are now grouped together inside of Kubernetes abstractions. These are known as pods. So when we think why this is important, today, many people that are specifically coming out of college may never actually see a physical data center anymore. They may be within environments where they're constantly working within the mechanics of the cloud. So they want to be able to group virtual machines the way that I wanted to do it back in the day, which is be able to see my running applications, my containerized applications, and my virtual machines in the way that they're represented as an application to the end user. It's harnessing the power of those kernel virtual machines to be able to specifically do that. And because of the paradigm of utilizing the underpinnings of Kubernetes to make that work, you're able to take advantage of that ecosystem. So from a quick architectural overview, and it gets no more complicated than this. There is a daemon set that handles the virtual machines that happens within the Kubernetes abstraction. That launcher goes through and interacts with the API layer, just like it would within any of the operating systems, which then launches the virtual machine. The power, though, within the platform is that it's a unified platform, that you can have a container that your developer built and the virtual machine running side by side on the same networks. So a unified platform goes through and provides consistent management, consistent tooling, a diverse ecosystem to be able to go through and exist particularly within. And because Red Hat has an open source development model, we're actually the upstream to OpenShift Virtualization is the KubeVirt project, but the integrations within the platform itself make it specifically powerful. And what makes it different is that Red Hat OpenShift Virtualization is not an independent product. It is just one of those things you get with our OpenShift platform. Additionally, we have the capability to not just support operating systems like Red Hat Enterprise Linux. There's mechanics supporting Windows guests, and a validation program to do that. For more interest in all the different guests we support, please just go to our documentation site on redhat.com. And when we go through and say how much does Red Hat go through and believe in our virtualization technology, for anybody who's utilizing our Red Hat OpenShift Virtualization, you get unlimited Red Hat Enterprise Linux guest entitlements. In this self, it kind of goes through and showcases the belief that we have, because our flagship lives specifically as a free entitlement on top of the platform that you can consume as much of it as you want. All right. So I go through and bring up the Forrester wave here for multi-cloud container platforms. It shows that Red Hat is not only a strong current offering, when it comes from a delivery perspective, we have a strong strategy. And really this strong strategy comes from the fact that we're going through and worked a long time towards the mechanics of this unified platform. And what does this really mean to those that are out there is that all of those people who are particularly coming out of college with the capability to go through and work with containers and work with Kubernetes, since we're based on open source, since we have our foundation within Kubernetes, they get to go through and adopt the platform, utilize skill sets they didn't know. Those skill sets are particularly transferable on top of the platform. And Red Hat is providing that enterprise-based framework on the underside to ensure that you have a trusted provider of that platform, but all of the innovation you get from the open source ecosystem. So that open source ecosystem removes the mechanics of lock-in, so that you're not tied to something particularly proprietary. And this removal from being tied to something proprietary and a movement towards standards is really one of the biggest benefits of going through and adopting the platform itself. And, OpenShift is utilized for everything from, applications. It's utilized as a data platform. It's utilized to be able to host development tools. It can host microservices, AI, analytics. And we have an enormous partner-based ecosystem that I, particularly as a chief within the ecosystem, focus towards, and your traditional applications. We provide modernization paths that go through and just go beyond just being a virtualization platform. So as if you're looking for an alternative for virtualization, you get to go through it and make the decisions. Well, my database that I'm running today also has the capability to run within a container. Maybe I want a smaller footprint. Maybe I want to take advantage of the optimizations. So instead of just doing a lift and shift based operation, one of the things that I can go through and do is be able to go in and take advantage of that modernization path to be able to go through and modernize at the same time that I'm lifting and shifting. So within the view structure, you'd be able to go through it and see VMs and containers particularly living together. You can see within here, I've got multiple virtual machines living next to applications within the same view. And because we're utilizing these Kubernetes-based standards, you're actually able to go through and take advantage of things like services and routes and ingress. These are control mechanisms within Kubernetes to handle traffic. You're actually able to go through and take your legacy virtual machines and apply things like service meshes to be able to assist yourself with tracing. And you're actually able to deploy new operations and new virtual machines with pipelines the same way you go through and deploy code. And one of the reasons that virtual machines is in Red Hat strategy is we understand that most customers are going through and modernization from virtual machine to containers is going to take some time. And having a platform that brings them together, goes through and reduces the amount of technical debt that an organization takes on from a management perspective. It goes through and provides a visibility view to understand the relationships between applications and virtual machines. and it really kind of thrives within an environment for those that understand that application grouping, which is a mechanic of grouping things in constructs of, virtual data centers, is really moving towards being able to utilize applications in a more consistent way and be able to, get a truer understanding of what's specifically within your environment. So one of the things that comes up is there's always this talk of comparisons. And I like to kind of say that it's very different within living within an OpenShift ecosystem. So today you can go through and run OpenShift on top of VMware, and you're able to modernize your applications and run virtual machines side on top of VMware while your OpenShift cluster is running your containers. The same holds true for going through and working with like Nutanix. OpenShift can run on top of Nutanix, where you can modernize your applications and run your virtual machines inside of the Nutanix ecosystem. Same holds true for cloud, where you can take your virtual machine and still modernize your applications on top of OpenShift. And as you can see, we're providing this agnostic layer for all of your containerized workloads across multiple sets of infrastructure that could be located within a data center. It could be located at the edge. It can be located within public and private cloud. But then you can go through and kind of think differently if you want to run on bare metal hardware or the mechanic of bare metal cloud instances and run your virtual machines and your containerized workloads together, because you have access to those underlying parts of the hardware, utilizing the kernel to be able to take advantage of that acceleration and that security built into the chip itself. And then for those who want to be able to go through and have a turnkey-based solution, we have providers such as Dell who go through and they wrap the entirety of the solution within one product set. So there's this offering from Dell called Dell Apex or Red Hat OpenShift, which is a unified, integrated, pre-integrated platform of both hardware and software. So you can run virtual machines within some of our cloud partners. So we actually have within a managed service version of OpenShift on Amazon. So we call Red Hat OpenShift Service on AWS. You're actually able to go through and run virtual machines on top of bare metal instances within cloud environments. You can run it on bare metal hardware of your choosing. You can go through and choose to utilize one of the pre-integrated environments out there. What we're really doing is allowing you to have true application portability and sometimes VM portability, depending on the underlying mechanics of your infrastructure. And to kind of do some like mainline comparisons, OpenShift itself is a modular offering. So we're actually go through and provide it in the concept of platforms. We actually have a mechanic of 3. It's the same OpenShift, but if you're just looking to be able to run containers and virtual machines on the same platform, containers and virtually the same platform, we call our OpenShift Kubernetes engine. It's a baseline Kubernetes platform with a secure operating system designed to run containers and virtual machines together. And we actually have what we consider our OpenShift container platform, which gives you the capability to do things like GitOps, so that the structures of going through and having infrastructure as code manage my containers can also manage my virtual machines. We have the capability to do pipelines for both containers and virtual machines, the service mesh and distributing tracing capabilities specifically within there. But this is all happens within the same platform itself. And to go through and take a look at it, it's a true consolidation. So when you're looking at the mechanics of the physical hardware, you'll have the control plane, which is OpenShift itself, plus the worker nodes, which will be going through and running your virtual machines and your containers, and that'll be particularly spread out across all the different environments you go through and you see. And given that like OpenShift focuses on this application centric area, this goes through and really gives you that capability to define your service definitions, to be able to look how your developers are becoming agile with code and bring that to what's considered to be a traditional base um, management. And then it's an upskill for those admins who have been kind of working more closely related to technologies that would be considered proprietary, and bring them to an area where their skill sets can transfer to a multitude of platforms out there, given to the fact that we have all of our underpinnings specifically within open source. Now, I have not looked at it to see if there's any questions out there. Mackenzie, have you seen any questions within the environment? I've been talking for quite some time.
So far, I think you're good. Like some general things, but I think we'll maybe address them at the end, and you've got a good flow going here.
All right. So one of the parts is, Red Hat gets its OpenShift virtualization from one primary upstream project, which is utilized as KubeVirt. KubeVirt goes through and interacts with the kernel-based virtual machines and provides the underpinnings of what we consider to be the orchestration of virtual machines across Kubernetes. It's part of the Cloud Native Computing Foundation, or CNCF, so that you know that it's specifically built on standards. There's 200 plus companies that have been contributing to the open source project that actually go through and align to it. And really what Red Hat's doing within that is we're going through it and taking and bringing together the hundreds of integrations that complement KubeVirt and bring it to you in a secure platform that you're actually able to run either within the cloud or on premises in your data center or network closets or wherever you're looking to go through and run your virtual machine based workloads. So, as part of being a modern application platform, the things that we're focused on is to be able to look at it and give you the things that we believe that you need. We believe that you need the capability to be able to do multi-cluster management. We think that you are looking for the mechanics of having a consistent environment that can go across all of your different infrastructures and hardware providers. We want to be able to go through and accelerate the capability to be able to handle things like automated based builds. By going through and adopting the platform, because it's based on Kubernetes, there's automatic gaining of the capability to utilize things like load balancing specifically within there. So this really reduces your downtime. Software-defined networking is already built in on top of the platform. You'll be able to go through and look at things like self-provisioning and micro-segmentation, which you can actually do via a service mesh. So you're getting the best of like virtual machine management and container management and the capability to distribute it anywhere that you may particularly want to go through it and do that. So you're reducing, where within traditional virtualization environments, you have increasing costs, utilizing, modern application and cloud native practices, you're really reducing operational infrastructure costs. While some platforms have a slow-based evolution, by the mere fact that the platform is built on top of Kubernetes, you're going to be innovating at speed. And the one thing that you can trust from Red Hat is that you'll get a life cycle to that that has been trusted for a very long period of time. And that trust is something that Red Hat holds dear. When it comes to being able to supporting growth, the platform itself is built for cloud native scalability. So if the infrastructure specifically supports it, even bare metal infrastructure, we can go through and grow the nodes that are specifically needed. Kubernetes is security focused first with lots of eyes on it because it's open source, and there's integrated development tools designed specifically within the platform itself. So why is this important? The primary advantage of having a unified platform for both containers and virtual machines is a modernize at your own pace. So, what does that mean? Well, we'll kind of drive into that. But, you know, when you're going through and pulling together virtual machines, there are lots of roles to go through and consider. So within a lot of environments for our customers, we're seeing that they want a virtual machine itself, so they're having to work with networking teams to be able to provide the environment they need. They're working with storage teams to create flows to get storage provisioned. They're working with platforming teams to go through and install the applications that they want. Then they're working with security teams to be able to review and approve the application within the environment. And this can sometimes mean that a developer can wait around for months before they get the virtual machine that they want to be able to go through and specifically deliver. Now that you've actually tied it to processes within CI/CD on a platform designed for self-service, you're actually able to go through and request a virtual machine. You can utilize pipelines. Right now, OpenShift Pipelines is built on the upstream Tecton project, or you can use something like infrastructure as code via Ansible to deliver the virtual machine. When the virtual machine comes up, it utilizes cloud native technologies like Cloud Init, a virtual machine image, or and a VM template to be able to go through and assist with the configuration. And then the networking, security, and storage are all part of the OpenShift platform itself. And then the virtual machine is ready. And the management of the storage, the management of the platform are all under one umbrella within there, and that umbrella is within a standards-based ecosystem. So let's talk about what that cloud approach could be for your environments. So OpenShift today supports virtual machine containers and serverless-based technologies. So say I have a .NET application. I can go through and take that .NET application and I can lift and shift that Windows server onto OpenShift. We actually have something called the Migration Toolkit for Virtualization to be able to help you assist bringing that virtual machine into the OpenShift ecosystem and have it running on top of OpenShift Virtualization. But we do go through and provide the potential for modernization journey. So you can refactor the application to a .NET Framework apps on a Windows server, not just lift and shift. So I can have a Windows server that's interacting with my OpenShift cluster. So it's basically a Windows-based worker node, and I can go through and run a .NET Framework application so that .NET app can run within OpenShift, but as a Windows container. Or I can do a little bit of re-architecting and bring it to the more portable .NET Core standard, which would be running inside of a Linux container. So the modernization potential is there within every decision that you make when you're going through and looking to bring virtual machines specifically within the environment. This unlocks a lot of potential, specifically within the platform, and the advantage of going through and running things like containers versus full virtual machines is it goes through and allows for much higher densities. So migrating, as I kind of say, is we try to go through and provide a way for the most minimal disruption as possible. So we do have a toolkit that can go through and assist. This migration toolkit for virtualization is designed to be able to connect to other supported hypervisors and be able to pull that virtual machine down and bring it into the OpenShift environment so that you're actually able to take advantage of it as best you can. But here's some quick samples. So I'm going to go through within here. So here's a sample part. Within here, I have my virtualization tab. All right, so let's go through within here. Click on the settings. You can see that these are the expectations you have with any particular environment. You're just getting the traditional view within the environment. I'm bringing up a catalog. This is something that you can go through and populate. So here's an extensive catalog with Windows and Linux servers, plus some other operating systems. I will go through and choose a RHEL-based operating system within here. I have a virtual machine tab. And within that mechanic of that virtual machine tab, I can create virtual machines. So let's actually go through and see that. So let's do a quick provision. So we'll go through, click Create Virtual Machines, choose Red Hat Enterprise Linux, pick a RHEL 9 virtual machine. One of the things you see, it'll auto-populate the name just like cloud, but you can go through and change that. By expanding the settings, you're actually able to go through and do more. But like what's happening on the underside right now is it's taking a RHEL 9 image. That RHEL 9 image is being launched on top of the OpenShift Virtualization platform. Then Cloud init will go through and initialize the platform, and then prep it for login. So you can see right now that the virtual network console is going through and booting the virtual BIOS. The operating system is starting to come up. We'll go through and we'll click on the console. Right now, we're just waiting for my browser to be able to render the console. It's doing the connection. And now I have my brand new operating system. And when I need the credentials, I can just go through and there's my setup password that was done from Cloud init. So really what I'm getting within this modernization path is I'm getting that acceleration that you would go through and expect from cloud, the capability to tie it into my workflows that I would have from containers, be able to add things like load balancers, to be able to adjust traffic, to be able to go through and bring things within the environment. And why is that important? Well, say I have a brand new application that I want to replace a virtual machine with, and I've completely gone through and containerized the application. Having the capability to control traffic, I can do things like canary deployments. While some of the traffic is still going to the legacy virtual machine, I can have some traffic going to the brand new container with modernization paths specifically built in. So there's my running virtual machine, particularly within the environment. You can see that its status is there, all those things you would expect from a virtual platform. So let's just go through and stop it. And we can go in and destroy the environment. So just as fast as I went through and brought it up, I can tear it down. So you can see that it is stopped. And I can click delete. All right, so let's delete that disk, and then we're done. So I'm asked why I record these demos, and I will tell you, for the last several months now, the industry has kind of demanded that I show these things on such a constant basis that I just do it to be able to go through and simplify it and make it particularly consistent. I'm checking to see if there are any questions. Nothing so far. So let's go through and pick another action that most of you would particularly expect. So let's go through and create another virtual machine. So this time I'm going to go through and choose RHEL again. Why do I choose Red Hat Enterprise Linux? Because I get unlimited amounts of it for free. And that our marketing person, Kelly, doesn't give me any money to run any of the other operating systems. So I get to take advantage of that. So my environment is going through and starting up. My console's coming online. My BIOS is launching, particularly within the background. So. Notice the things that you would expect to see within the environment. All right, so we're bringing up the console. All right, it's still booting. Should be there in a minute because it's bringing up the network-based interfaces. All right, system's online. I'll grab my new credential. Let's log in. right. So you can see the last user added was done from Cloud Init for that cloud user. So let's go through and take a snapshot. All right. Automatically picked a name for me, but I can call it whatever I want. All right. All right, now I have a snapshot. So let's go back to our virtual machine and we'll add an account. We'll jump into the web console. Let's add a new account. All right. We'll see that it's there. All right, we have our dummy account located within it. Okay, let's go through and go back to the snapshot. So we'll shut down. You'll notice that when I immediately shut down, because it's utilizing Kubernetes, it will automatically attempt to start it back up again because it has a defined state. So I will actually force stop it. All right. Environment is stopping. All right, things are coming offline. Now I can just go over to my snapshots and restore from my snapshot. So what do I have within here? We've showed creating virtual machines, seeing a catalog of operating systems that's specifically adjustable. I have an interface in front of me that's giving me my alerts, my chat maps, my network interfaces. I can see the disks that are going through and that are attached, an underlying part of all the utilization components that I want. All right, connected back in, systems coming online. We'll log in and what we should see is that the dummy account is no longer there. All right. So let's do some migrating. So you can see I have my virtual machine. I can get the details and see what host that virtual machine is running on. Right, there's the node. I have a view of my IP address, the time zone, the CPU and memory. Now let's go through and migrate that to a new host. And what you'll see here as it's refreshing is that the worker node just changed from worker 1 to worker 2. So, and I think the last demo for today is to show you some simple cloning. I'm going to clone that virtual machine. I'm going to pick the namespace where I'm going to go through and put that virtual machine itself. And then I'll start the virtual machine on the clone. Questions? Mackenzie, are you seeing any questions out there? Mackenzie, are you seeing any questions out there?
I do have a couple questions for you. You might have lost a little audio on that last bit of your walk through there on the cloning. So I'm not sure if you want to hop back and do a little bit again or give a brief recap. I
Oh,
was thinking of it on my end, but I think a couple people looks like they experienced it here.
okay. So the clone itself is similar to like what we did with the live migrate. You can see that the clone option is there. And this is like creating a brand new virtual machine. It is similar to working within other environments. But instead of going through and placing it into virtual data centers, you're actually just putting it into Kubernetes-based namespaces, and then just giving myself the capability to click that start.
Nice. Excellent. Okay. Well, thank you. This has been great so far. I know we've got a few audience questions here, so I'm gonna even bring Adam back in here if Adam you're ready, and then depending on the question kind of hits both of you two, or if you want to add in or just give a little bit of context on how it might all work. Let's go from there. So where do we start? First one here. How do you migrate virtual machines from VMware to OpenShift virtualization?
So you would be utilizing the migration toolkit for virtualization. It'll actually go through, connect into vSphere. It will do some very basic sanity checks, and you'll be able to go through and transition the virtual machine pretty seamless.
Right. Like that. Next question here. Is there anyone in the US government using OpenShift virtualization at this time?
Yes, we have those within Army GDP that are going through and utilizing it today. We also have another government organization that has over 150 plus sites utilizing a hub and spoke based model. So what they're utilizing is a multi-cloud management to be able to manage edge nodes. And you can kind of think of like one central management spoke with 150 plus sites. I believe that it's gold to over 200 sites.
Okay, impressive. Okay, question here from Joshua. He says, is there such a thing as storage vMotion in OpenShift, or would the VM be required to be powered off before moving the persistent storage?
So not specifically with an OpenShift virtualization, we actually lean into our partner ecosystem for the movement of data. That is the primary advantage of going through it and being able to utilize the container storage interface. So it is not a part of the OpenShift virtualization platform, but it is within, you're actually able to go through and manipulate storage via the infrastructure providers. So not something that we have, but the standards are moving towards that within provided storage.
Right. Okay. And then we've had somebody pipe in and ask about any higher ed use cases after that question there with the government use case. Is there any that you know of, or can you remark on that at all?
So I don't have any specifics to that, but what we can do is go through and get you connected with our team. So if you reach out to Adam, Adam can get you connected with our teams. So Red Hat has a team covering almost every federal government organization, and we have a team for just state, local, and educations. While I'm the chief of ecosystem, there's actually a complete chief for higher education. So I'd like to be able to go through and get you to those teams to be able to discuss the use cases. We just have so many.
Perfect. So definitely a team for that. Just we'd have to, put them in the right direction. Good question. Then in that case, Adam, Matthew, like if people do want to take some next steps, get started, give this a trial, where should they go? What should they do?
Yeah, so you can start off reaching out to me. Again, I have connections here with not only just our CDW account executives that would align to you, but also the Red Hat counterparts as well from a field and inside sales. So we take a collaborative approach when having these conversations and working with our customers, especially our mutual customers, and we can absolutely help you take those next steps by having initial first entry call, kind of understand what your initiatives are, what you're trying to do, and where you like to go. And then we can start putting, a plan in place and a roadmap and help you down that journey.
Awesome. I think that might be all the time we have today for Q&A, but any final words, thoughts, calls to action that you'd like to leave everyone out in the audience with today? Putting you on the spot.
So we understand that like going through and taking and looking at an alternative virtualization platform is a very serious thing. One of the things that Red Hat has done to showcase how serious we are about it is to go through and give you that unlimited Red Hat Enterprise Linux as part of the solution-based offering to kind of showcase how much we believe our flagship is part of what's delivered as part of the platform. And not only are you getting a secure supply chain around what you're doing from a virtualization perspective, a modernization path to be able to go through and update at your own pace. You're actually going through and giving the option to go through and update all of your Linux workloads to supported Linux workloads.
So, amazing. Thank you. Okay, with that, I think we are at time, so I'm going to let you both go, but I want to sincerely thank you both for coming on today and providing all of this information, being able to pick your brains in this kind of Q&A style at the end, and also just see all those walkthroughs and demos has been fantastic. And I think it's pretty clear the audience took a lot away from this as well.
Yeah, remember, if you're interested, June 12th, there's an in-person OpenShift Virtualization workshop that you can go through in our Tyson's Corner office. It is on our events-based website. Feel free to go through, sign up, come, and get more technically hands-on. Those are great events.
Awesome. Yeah, definitely mark your calendars for that if you're interested, and that'll be a great way to follow up on what you all saw here today. All right, Adam, Matthew, I'm gonna boot you out of the video now, but not because I don't like you, just because we're gonna wrap things up. But thank you once again. It's been really fantastic.
Thank you much, Mackenzie.
Cheers. All right, everyone out there, I hope you had as much fun and learned as much as I did. I want to remind all of you to visit the handout section. In there, you'll see the resource, and you can get started with Red Hat and learn a little bit more about what they do. So definitely pop over there, grab that, click on the link. You're not going to regret it. And with that, on behalf of the Actual Tech Media team, I just sincerely want to thank Red Hat and CDW for making this webinar possible. And especially, I want to thank our incredible speakers. Once again, Matthew, Adam, you've given us so much to think about here today. And hey, I want to send high fives and special thank yous out to all of you who came in today and made this possible as an audience as well. I know sometimes it can be difficult to stop our daily grind and take a moment to strategize, plan ahead, think ahead. So thank you for pulling your heads up from the day-to-day of it all and making mental space in order to move, manage, and modernize your workloads with the OpenShift virtualization. I know I've learned a ton from this session. I hope you have all as well. And I cannot wait to see you at another webinar again soon. So until then, have an absolutely magical rest of your day and take good care.